everyone, it's me, Raven Jade, and today's video is going to be all about my tips for you to avoid being scammed in Entropia. That's right, to avoid this guy right here or any other player holding you up at gunpoint. Okay, just like the title of my video said, I was actually scammed in Entropia universe way back when I was a noob. And there was one other time when I was a noob that someone tried to scam me, but I was smart enough to see that that's what they were trying to do. But this video is all about giving you some tips on how to avoid being scammed, and then I'll tell you my story later on in the video. First tip, and it's a really no-brainer. It's use your common sense. If it's too good to be true, then it probably is too good to be true. The number one scam, I think, in my opinion only, in Entropia universe, or probably any other, video game, is the trust scam. It's when you develop some sort of relationship, friendly or otherwise, with a player in game, and they ask if they can borrow something. And it seems innocent enough, and you want to be nice, so you say, sure, I will let you borrow my whatever. And then they promise to give it back, and then they never do. Or, they ask to borrow peds, and some players build up a big con, like it's the long con, where they borrow 100 peds the first time. They pay it back, no problem. Next time they want 500 peds. They pay it back, no problem. Next thing you know, they want 1,000 peds, and all of a sudden the stories start. They're having a rough time, their dog has the flu, their wife is cheating on them, you name it, all of a sudden the excuses start and you've gotten yourself less money or one less item or several less items in the game. To avoid this, it's really simple. If you are going to loan someone money or items in game, always ask for collateral. And if they get offended by you asking for collateral, then they don't need to be borrowing from you in the first place. I have borrowed things from friends in game, and I always offer collateral. Now, some of my friends, they don't want to take collateral from me, but it feels better. You feel better because you feel like if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, they'll at least have collateral. If you never show back up in game, and they feel better too because if you never show up back in game, they have at least something of value that they can recoup their losses with. The other thing that I notice that happens in Entropia universe so many times, and I'm trying not to make fun of anybody because it's not really a laughing matter, but the love scam, it happens all the time, and it's not just a guy telling a girl that he likes them or whatever. I don't know, I feel like this is like I'm in junior high talking about, oh, I like you. But let's say, for example, you meet this really hot avatar in game, and she's really hot, and she starts talking dirty to you in your PMs. Well, that's okay. I mean, I'm not judging. I mean, people talk dirty, but I think you should make sure that it's actually a girl that you're talking to. So many times I hear of guys complaining that they got scammed by what they thought was a girl, and it turned out to be a dude. So this is how far these guys are willing to go to scam you, is that they will, have cyber sex, yes, going back to 1999, with you just to get your items or your pets. Now guys, my advice to you is stop thinking with your penises. I'm sure you have very nice penises, but you should actually, think with your bigger head when it comes to common sense in the game. So, I don't want to hear anybody crying they got scammed out of something because they thought with their other head. Now, the two instances where I've been scammed, or at one time was attempted to be scammed in the game, was I was new. I was probably less than a week old in game, and I was in my noob outfit, and I think that's a prime target for scams in this game. Is they look for newer players because we usually don't know the ins and outs of the game, so we're a little bit easier to con. And I was just coming out of the sweat area, and this guy approached me, and he said, I'm looking to buy sweat. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, I want 1,000 bottles. And I'm like, yeah, I have 1,000 bottles of sweat. And he's like, and at the time when I started Entropia, sweat was a lot higher than it is today. So I think he offered me like something like 10 ped for the sweat. And I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. So we open up a trade. And instead of giving me 10 ped in the trade, he gave me 10 peck. And I had never traded ped with anybody in the game yet, but I knew what my ped and my peck looked like. Ped is gold, peck is silver, so he was trying to give me 10 peck, which was worthless, which was nothing. So I said to him, I said, hey, I think you miscalculated. I think you get peck wrong, and it's supposed to be ped. He immediately closed the trade and he ran. He like ran away like I was gonna chase him or something. And that was the end of that one. But where I did get scammed was, and it was a very common thing at the time, and maybe it still is somebody offered, they said that they were colorers. They were a colorer. And they offered to color my clothes for me. And I think at the time I wanted something like a navy. And he's like, sure, no problem. I can color it for you. And I gave him a pair of 7 ped pants. And so that's like worth 70 cents US. Let's just get that straight. Anyways, and he was like, well, do you have any other clothes that you'd like me to color? I can color them all for you. And I was a little bit hesitant because I'd never seen this person before. And so I was like, no, just the pants. So he took the pants in a trade. He's like, oh, I left my paints in storage. I'll be right back. And then he went off and I stood there, and after about 2 minutes I was like, oh crap, I just got scammed. He never came back, and I was like so embarrassed, and I was so distraught, and I was like, I can't believe I got myself scammed out of my pants. Yes, boys, somebody did scam the pants off of me. But as embarrassed as I was, and as upset as I was with myself, later on a friend logged in game and I told him what happened, and he's like, look, you got taken for 70 cents US. He said, you learned a huge lesson on trust and it only cost you 70 cents. Not a bad one. So that's how I was scammed. Other ways that people can scam, and it has happened, is they'll try to mimic another player. I myself actually had this happen, where at the time I was a radio DJ in the game, and so a lot of people knew me for, you know, putting on radio shows. And this person, for whatever reason, they didn't like me. I don't know. It happens. Maybe I'm too cheerful or too Canadian or whatever, too vampire. And so they created an avatar called, I think it was DJ, Raven Jade, RJ, or something like that. And they went around pretending that they were me. And they were trying to make, you know, this person was like going around like acting like an asshole. And people at first, because they didn't see me, they just saw the, you know, typing in the local chats. And they're like, what the hell is wrong with you, Raven? And then, you know, we figured it out. I reported it to Mindark. I think the person got banned because I never saw them again. But if you look at the player register, that person's name is still there. And at the time, a lot of people were creating avatars that were similar to other avatars' names to try to con people. Again, like pretending to be a colorer when they weren't really a colorer, pretending to be, you know, maybe a spaceship captain or something. So my advice is to be aware of who you are actually talking to. Another scam that has happened in Entropia in the past involves motherships into space where people have been looking for a warp. They get their name on a mothership and it wasn't the right mothership, because this is a complaint that I have with Minder. I think that if you're going to be, if somebody puts your name on a guest list of their vehicle or their spaceship, you should be able to accept yes or no if you want to be on that guest list. But at the time of this recording, that is not possible. Anybody at any time can put your name on their guest list. So if you're going to get summoned up to space, be aware of who is actually summoning you and what ship you are actually on, because you could end up on a ship with somebody that is wanting to go out to space. They could have a sliver of health left on their spaceship, have a friend waiting nearby to shoot it, blow it up, and then, then they shoot and loot you. That has happened in the past in Entropia. It hasn't happened in a while, but I think, in my opinion, that it is still possible. Auction scams, they can happen. You have to watch sometimes, like there's these 1-ped TT guns, for example, and if you just add like an extra 0 to the current markup, if somebody's not paying attention, they might grab that one by accident. Instead of paying 70 ped for something, you might have, if you have the money on your card, you might end up paying 700 ped, for example. So I think what I'm trying to get the point across is that in Entropia and in any video game, there are always people looking for the opportunity to take advantage of you. So my biggest tip is to just use your common sense, and you should be able to play this game relatively free of people taking advantage of you. If you have been a victim of a scam in Entropia or any other video game, I would love to hear about it, and put it down in the comments. It will help educate other people into seeing what we should be wary of. You can never be too safe. Until the next video, guys, I hope that if you're going to be bad, be good at it. Unless you're trying to scam someone, because that's no good. That's not the kind of bad I'm talking about. Until the next time, mwah!